Hey, good evening. Hope everybody's having a good Friday evening here. I've just got done fighting with Sony Vegas. It's been crashing on me, so we don't have our usual titles up that we usually place up here. But anyway, we did have the time-lapse working fine, and there it is. Sun going down, and you can see things have a very seriform appearance, and the upper clouds are moving fast. So we are picking up some of the energy from the Pacific coming out this way, and this cirrus is a good sign that some of that Pineapple Express moisture may be piling over the top of that ridge. So we're going to check that out there. So let's head on and take a look. So we'll just slide this out of the way. All right, let's see here. That's the forecast. I've got some different charts up. Let me check and make sure everything is looking fine. I need to get into a habit of doing this. Everything looks good on the meters. Stream dropping a few frames here. I need to see what's going on. Hang on a second. Okay, let's see. We are dropping frames. I'm going to check with you guys in chat and ask you how it's looking. YouTube seems to think it's looking good. I've got green on here, so who knows? We may just be dropping a few frames here. Okay, Fun with Tech is here, and Electric Dog from Northern Illinois. And when I went to forecast school, that was also in northern Illinois. That was in the Champaign-Rantoul area. And I used to go up to Chicago to see my uncle and aunt up there. I've got family up there in Chicago. Audio and video looking good. Fun with Tech. Bro H is with us. Stephen Shores, a new name. Welcome to the webcast. Sue M, looking for a chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. David Holcomb is here, and Andrew Hotchkiss. 30-knot gusts and lake effect snows expected for western Pennsylvania starting Sunday. And yeah, there's a little bit of a sign of that coming up here. Let's run this up to tomorrow. We'll just take a quick sneak peek. And yeah, we've got a pretty deep system going through the Lake Erie area. And in the wake, yeah, this is a good pattern here for lake effect snows. The Great Lakes, very warm this time of year because it's early in the winter. Really, it's late fall. So plenty of moisture there when we get this very intense cold air coming off the lakes. We get the moisture streaming downwind. So pretty good opportunity there for snow. So let's go and look at the upper air chart. And I've got a 500 millibar analysis. So we've got, let me see if that's the latest. I know we've got 0Z data usually. Yeah, we do here. Let's bump that up. Okay, so there's the current chart. We've got a pretty good trough in Montana and Wyoming there. And yeah, we've displaced that ridge, and there it is across Pennsylvania and Ontario. And I'll put that trough in here. So we've got a pretty good pattern to bring in moisture. Probably got something like that going on. And in fact, let's go all the way up to 200 millibars because that is where the moisture is. Okay, we'll have to go up to 250. Okay, very strong jet, 150 knots, 160 actually over the Denver area. And this is the supply of moisture, subtropical jet coming up from that area, and you can see this is a good indicator right here. It gives the whole thing a very anticyclonic look, and that's one way you can kind of pick out where that subtropical jet is. And then kind of superimposed on that is the polar front jet. And it looks unusually weak in this area right here. So I'm thinking that may be subgeostrophic winds moving through that area. Okay, so let's take a look at 850 also. So this is going to be the lower levels of the atmosphere. We're looking at temperature here, shaded, and heights are going to be the contours here. So that's kind of like pressure lines. So we see very strong gradient through the Nebraska, Colorado area all the way back to California. And that falls right within that height trough. So that's probably the next front coming in. In fact, that's definitely what it is. And we talked last night about a front moving down along the coast. That should be in the LA area right now. So everything matches up pretty well. So we're bringing that front together in the Four Corners area and the Southwest Deserts, and that we'll be in the Great Plains tomorrow. And then we do have a warm front section. That's going to be running something like that right there. So if we had a little bit more moisture, that would be a good setup for severe weather. Arkansas to Missouri, and especially up to Kansas, this would be a prime area if things were a little bit more, trying to think of the word. Yeah, I mean, if we were able to bring up some of the moisture, that would be a help. But you can see we've got a very downslope appearance. So very dry air coming off the deserts. And then the dew points that we see here, like -1 there at Amarillo, is that dew point depression or is that dew point? We have to know that when we deal with this 850 millibar analysis. Well, we can't have a negative dew point depression, so that tips things in the favor of it being a dew point. And all we have to do is go up to Canada. We've got -18, -10, -18. Okay, so that's definitely dew point. So going back to the Texas area, okay, so we've got -1, very dry air, -5, -1, and only when we get to Fort Worth do we pick up a little bit of moisture there. Very dry dew points even at Corpus Christi. Look at that, -9. And -4 at Brownsville. So that's going to be like a 13-degree Fahrenheit dew point at 850, 5,000 feet. But plenty of moisture out in East Texas. Values up above 10. That could support a little bit of severe weather. So what we could do is draw isodrosotherms. Here's 10. That goes all the way up to Illinois. And then we could probably do a 12. So there's where all the moisture is. It's in Little Rock and Arkansas. And then we can do an 8 if we wanted to, like that. And we could also link that up with the low-level jet. Don't have a very pronounced low-level jet, but it looks like we do have 50 knots there at Little Rock and Springfield. That looks to be about where the axis of that is, right in that area there. So plenty to look at on the charts. And out in the eastern U.S., just ridging up at 850, so that's the high pressure in that region. And let me see if we have a surface map. Yeah, there we go. Let me update that. 18th at 0Z. Okay. I think that's about as late as we're going to get. Give me just a second here. Okay, so we've got a nice surface chart. We can check that out. Okay, so the black lines, those are going to be isobars. And then the red lines that you see here, the chart shows that that is, yeah, that's 500 millibar geopotential height. So that's not thickness, that's 500 millibar height. So what we can do to interpret that is to look at how closely packed that is. And there's some pretty good packing right there. And we can pick out a medium scale trough in the Great Basin area. It looks too smooth to be able to pick up short waves, but this gives us a general idea of the flow. So it looks like we've got a polar front jet running like that, and possibly a little bit tighter in this area, maybe a little bit of a jet max indicated, and then we're not going to pick up the subtropical jet at all. This is only 500 millibars. And let's do the surface analysis. Yeah, I really like this chart a lot. I can pick that front out, and these temperatures are Celsius, but we do see, I can go ahead and convert these for you. Denver, 48 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see the north wind. So that's the Canadian air in this region getting ready to head south. And then out here we've got a little bit of the Pacific air, and that's going to be carried a little bit more to the southeast like that. All right, so drawing out the front. Looks like it's right there through the Grand Junction area. You can see the heavy rain. There's heavy snow indicated right there. Heavy rain. A lot of weather there in the Colorado area. North winds in Utah. And then looks like the front goes right through the Area 51 area. Just south of Bishop there, you can see also north winds at Tonopah, 20 knots sustained. That's pretty good cold air. And then in the Great Basin area, about 30 degrees. And then we probably pick up the front off the coast, kind of like that. And I'm thinking a little bit of a wave going on right in this area here. Okay, so that's the surface analysis. So everything kind of like links up very well with the upper level charts. So up to the north, this is all going to be cold Pacific air getting ready to head southeastward right there. And also some of the ridging that you see here in Canada. Sorry, this is, there you go. That ridging right there, that's the Canadian air also getting ready to head south. Okay, with a surface cyclone in Colorado in this area, with moisture coming up, this is kind of a good pattern for a dry line. So has anybody found where the dry line is? I'll let you all look at that, and while you look for the dry line, let me just check the messages. It buffered when we brought up Pivotal. Yeah, that page wasn't loading. Mike R. weather stabilized today in the wake of potent Pacific front. And that's going to be in the San Francisco area. Bill Johnson made it back. Thunderstorms earlier today in Milwaukee. And moderate rain right now. Okay, very good. Okay, the dry line. Well, we've got very strong moisture in the Fort Worth area. And we know that it is shallow in this area. Very dry here right off the surface. And then at the surface here, we've got a dew point of about 64 Fahrenheit. And running about 63 in that area right there around Kerrville. So I'm going to put that dry line Yep, there it is right there. So you can see on one side of it around Clinton, look at that, -8. That's very dry air. That's going to be around 18-degree dew points. Contrasted at Oklahoma City here with a dew point of 55. So that's a definite dry line gradient. So we're going by the dew point gradient. And that's pretty much where the dry line is. And remember, up to the front, up to the north, we have the cold front. And then the warm front, where is that going to be? The best way to pick that out is to check things out between the tropical sector and go pretty far north and take a look. And way up there off the edge of the chart, we've got some inclement weather up in the Great Lakes. Temperatures just about freezing, so we know for a fact that the front is going to be in between. So it's just a matter of finding it. And what we want to do is approach from the south like this. In fact, we can get on Interstate 30. So we got warm weather there, about 81 degrees at Dallas. We go up the road. Things drop off to about 68 there at Little Rock. And then they drop off to about 55 at St. Louis. So we know it's going to be in this area right here. So let's take a look at some of the other data. Very warm there at College Station, drops off to about 70 around western Mississippi, and then down to 50 in southern Kentucky. Okay, well, things are a little bit moderate in this area, but I'm going to go with the warm front kind of being in this area right here. So that kind of puts it within the trough. There's kind of like a change in that isobar, the alignment of that isobar right there. Our warm front should fall in a trough, kind of like what you see right here. So that's probably the actual front, and taking a look at the data, yeah. So even though conditions are a little bit cold on the warm side, that's pretty good, because there is a very strong change from here to here compared with from here to there. So weak change here, strong change right there. So that means that our front is going to be located right there and not right down here. So there's the front. That's pretty much the final analysis right there. And then, of course, the dry line right in this area. And if we had a severe weather, we would probably want to head up to the triple point. If we had like enough moisture, we would want to go up into Kansas. This would be a really good area, because that's kind of at the nose of the moisture. Things are a little bit more uncapped. And there's also a little bit more helicity along the warm front, especially when you get north of the surface low, like right in this area. So that can be a potent tornado area to chase. Okay, looking around the rest of the map, let's just take a quick look. Got a system around Churchill, Manitoba up there. And that's probably going to be a little bit of an occluded front. Looks like it runs kind of like that. Pretty cold weather back behind that system. And we can see that the heights aloft, very cold. So this is kind of like the polar vortex right there. And another reason I really like this map is it goes way up north. This is a Canadian map, so we can see what's going on in the Northwest Territories. And it looks like there is some definite cold air up in that region. So if we were able to somehow dislodge that and send it southward, we would have a pretty good cold blast into the northern U.S. Okay, let's see here. These are some maps that we'll look at later, but because I haven't quite figured out what they're trying to show. I see something about cyclone tracking, but I was never able to figure out what this is. But in any case, this looks like the path of the low that's moving across the Rockies, heading into the Great Lakes. Yeah, see right here they show 20th at 6Z. I looked at the maps for the 20th and I didn't see anything in this area, so I'm not too sure what that is right there. But anyway, we'll probably use this site. It's a pretty cool site, UQAM Weather Center. It's run out of Quebec, so we can maybe check this out sometime. Looks like some neat products in there. Let me take a look at the GFS. It's a little bit busy for a weather map, but let's see here. Surface or 500 millibar analysis for 18Z. So this is showing that shortwave earlier in the day. Actually, this is more of a jet max, kind of a large trough. Earlier today was in the Nevada area, and it looks like the strongest dynamic forcing was in eastern Nevada at that time. Okay, let me see if I can bring up the polar orbiter data. Huh, looks like the site is non-responsive. Okay, I'm moving the slider bar here. Looks like that's working. Okay, there we go. So this is going to be earlier today, about 18Z, and if we put up the layers, so now we see kind of like what we were looking at on that other chart. It was showing that earlier today. We were having a strong weather system moving through central Nevada. It was indicating kind of a jet max in this area and some of the strongest forcing in this area right there. And here we can kind of see that. Got kind of a comma shape to the clouds. Very strong lift moving through that area. And then to the south, this is associated more with the subtropical jet. Okay, let's see here. No severe weather forecast. So I think we'll go ahead and head towards the forecast. And I think we'll have kind of a lot to look at tomorrow. Yeah, there's a quick look at the thickness chart. You can see the front through the same area we were talking about earlier. And the gradient out in this area very hard to pick out. So this is definitely of a lot of use for forecasting out in the western U.S. Okay, let's see here. I guess we'll take a look at a sounding real quick. We've got kind of a westerly, kind of a southwest flow in Texas. So Fort Worth sounding from about 2 hours ago. It's the book under development still. Hopefully I'll get that finished in the next day or two. There's the Fort Worth sounding. Got kind of a loaded gun appearance. And 850, where we were looking at that one chart earlier, kind of picking up the transition between the elevated mixed layer and the tropical air. And of course, once we got further west, we were picking up the soundings, the very dry air. For example, Corpus Christi. We were picking up some very dry air on that sounding, and you can see that we were cutting into the elevated mixed layer. So we were picking up quite a bit of dry air. If we brought that 850 millibar, if we were able to analyze that layer lower, we would be picking up the tropical air. So you do have to get kind of a three-dimensional picture in your head when you work through these charts. So the moisture a little bit on the shallow side, but it is there. 60 degree dew points in Corpus Christi. And then Norman, they've got the dry line just to the west. Actually, Norman has had kind of a weak passage, kind of southwest winds there. Dew points of around 55. It looks like that elevated mixed layer is kind of mixed downward. So that dry line may be a little bit further. I would probably place that a little further east. Okay, we'll go ahead and do the forecast because I need to get back to the book development. We'll take a look at the upper charts at 200 millibars. And there's that troughing right there. There's that big subtropical jet, polar front jet. And that's going to move quickly eastward over the weekend. Sunday it's going to be moving into the eastern U.S., and then we've got ridging out to the west. So no really big changes until about Sunday. Start getting another system coming in. Looks like maybe a bit of rain in California, Oregon. And jet digging southward. Kind of a northerly flow there on Tuesday, so probably kind of cold around midweek. Things getting very meridional here. So we should see a lot of weather next week with this very strong wave moving across North America. Things moderate, and then they get kind of extreme again towards Sunday and Monday with this very strong ridging. Looks like we're tapping some of that Pineapple Express moisture about 8 or 9 days from now, and cold, of course, in the northeast U.S. around that time. Then we break down that ridge really fast to see how fast that goes away. Troughing. Another system, this one's pretty far south, on December 2nd. And then we get to the end right there. So let's check out the surface map. Okay, starting out, there's going to be a low pressure area coming across Missouri and Illinois tonight. Cold front starts moving south into Oklahoma. And there goes that baroclinic low. By midday, it's going to be in the Ohio, Michigan area. And cold front blasting very quickly southward during the day through Texas. There's that high pressure right there. This is kind of a Pacific high, and maybe some of this high there, that's probably Canadian. So behind that, very strong cold air advection in the Great Lakes area. Then things kind of quiet down. We get some downslope flow around Monday. Then we reload the system out west. In the meantime, a little bit of an Alberta clipper coming south. Looks kind of dry right there. This is probably going to head southeast. And there it goes on Tuesday. A little bit of a reinforcement of cold air coming south. And that'll move all the way into the Texas area, Tennessee, around Wednesday. So it should be kind of a cool pattern. And I do know that on Tuesday and Wednesday, we were looking for that flow to become very meridional. So that's probably going to help reinforce that cold air there. So it looks kind of cold around midweek. A little bit of an upper air system right there. And then we look out west. Actually, yeah, something going on in Florida right there. Yeah, that old front laying out there in the Gulf, it looks like a wave picked that up. Then we see that move across Florida around Thursday. So Gulf Stream waters out to the southeast and very cold air to the north. That's a good baroclinic setup. And that kind of moves up the coast around Cape Hatteras and then off to sea. Another reinforcing shot around Sunday. High pressure up to the north over the Canadian prairies. And that moves all the way down to the Red River around Sunday, and then Monday, yeah, that cold air comes into Texas and then all the way down to Florida. Got a mosquito in here. Yeah, the weather is getting really warm. I've seen possums and all kinds of stuff out there. We've just not seen the arrival of any cold weather, but hopefully that'll change in the next day or two. So high pressure, 28th. Another little, this is kind of a polar vortex system. This is not baroclinic, but it is very strong there coming across the lakes. And then in the very last frame on the 3rd, things look really unsettled across the Rockies. It looks like a new system coming together. This is probably a lee side low, but it looks like it's got some baroclinicity. Maybe the warm front coming north. But yeah, this area is starting to recharge. And so it looks like around the 4th or 5th things should cool down a bit across the central U.S. there. Okay, so that's a look at what's going on around the U.S. Dry line north-south through central Texas from Andrew Hotchkiss. Burl H. asking about the website for those charts. We were looking at UQ AM weather. Yeah, there it is. It's Meteocenter with TRE.com. And Kathy Campbell-Wallace joining us. Thank you for taking time to teach and give us weather update. Not a problem. But let's see here. It's 8:35, so we're pretty much done. So we'll check back in tomorrow and see how that cold front is. It's probably going to be coming through South Texas, maybe during the evening, Louisiana, maybe up to Mississippi and Tennessee. So we'll check that out then. Okay, well, I appreciate you watching, and hopefully we will see you tomorrow. Take care.